Welcome back, everyone, to Canada's Blonde Moment, the podcast where we cut through the bullshit, dive into the dirt, and talk about what the Canadian politicians really don't want you to know. I'm your host, TJ, and today, we're going to tear the mask off one of the slickest guys to ever manipulate his way into power in this country, Mark Carney. So, I know you've all heard the name by now. Carney's that smooth talker who went from Bank of Canada governor to global financial guru to Prime Minister of Canada, or at least, that's what it feels like. But today, I'm going to expose the real Carney, the guy who's been rubbing elbows with some of the most disgusting people on the planet and somehow thinks he can still act like a saint. But before we get started, let me just say, I've got more dirt on this guy than a muddy pig in a rainstorm, and you're going to want to keep listening. So, grab your drink, kick back, and let's dive into why this guy should never have been given the power he's got. Alright, here we go. Let's start with some basic facts about Mark Carney. He's the guy who ran the Bank of Canada, fancy title, right? Yeah, sure, but let's look at what he was actually doing behind the scenes. This is the same guy who's been tied to Ghislaine Maxwell, you know, that Ghislaine, the one with the connection to Epstein and that whole child trafficking scandal. I know, it sounds like something out of a bad Netflix documentary, but bear with me, because it gets even juicier. There are pictures, folks, of Mark Carney with Ghislaine Maxwell, after Epstein was arrested for raping minors. Yeah, let that sink in. This guy, who claims he's all about integrity, was hanging out with one of the most notorious criminals in recent history. And I know, Carney's gonna try to tell you, I didn't know what was going on. But come on, how do you not know? This wasn't just some casual, oops moment, this was a pattern of covering up the worst of the worst. And if that wasn't enough, let's talk about how he moved all of his personal assets into a silent trust just days before he claimed to have no idea what was in it.
Minister Carney, I'm Gillian Piper with Global News. I understand that your assets have been put into a blind trust. I wanted to ask you, what is the value of the assets and where did they come from? How can Canadians know that there's no conflict of interest if they don't know where the assets come from?
That's an odd question, or odd way of framing it. The assets are in a blind trust. So, and can I point out that for those who don't follow this, I have 6 months to put, or 120 days to put the assets in a blind trust. I already have put the assets in a blind trust. And once assets are in a blind trust, you don't know that. By definition, you don't know the assets because the trustees take over the responsibility.
Days. Like, are we really supposed to believe that a guy who's been deep in the world of finance for decades has no clue where his money is? It's almost like he was trying to hide something, and I'm betting it wasn't just his tax returns. Now, fast forward to March 14, 2025, and guess who's suddenly made it to the top of Canada's political pyramid? That's right, Carney's now playing the role of Prime Minister, and the first thing he does, he appoints none other than Chrystia Freeland, his godson's mother, into his cabinet. What a coincidence, right? I mean, Freeland's practically joined at the hip with Carney. And get this, he's her son's godfather. So now, we've got a godfather/godmother political power duo. I mean, if that isn't the definition of nepotism, I don't know what is. But here's the kicker, Freeland's got Carney's back, all right. In fact, she's not only his number one supporter but also tied to him financially. Now, I don't know about you, but when I see Freeland and Carney practically joined at the hip, I start asking, what kind of deals are they cutting? Why does Carney get more votes in Freeland's riding than she did? What does that tell you? This isn't some coincidental win, this is a well-oiled political machine, folks. And let's not forget how Carney's financial genius seems to magically make him a fortune while Canadians get left holding the bag. Seriously, the guy's all over the news talking about how he's going to fix the country, and yet, he's the same guy who's ducking and dodging the real issues. Do you trust a guy who won't even tell you where his money is? I don't. And when he starts acting like he's got the answers for the economy, I have to wonder, whose pockets is he really lining? Look, we all know politics is dirty, but Mark Carney takes it to a new level. From his shady connections to Epstein, to his questionable financial moves, and now, to his tight-knit relationship with Freeland, this guy is no hero. He's playing the game, and right now, Canada's the pawn. So, let's sum this up. Mark Carney. The guy who hung out with Maxwell after Epstein's arrest. The guy who hides his assets in a trust so he can claim, "I didn't know." The guy who got more votes in Freeland's riding than she did herself. And now, the guy who's leading this country. What a joke. And if Canadians are still buying his act, we're all in bigger trouble than I thought. So, to wrap it up, let's just say this: Carney's rise to power is nothing but smoke and mirrors. This guy has too many secrets, and we're not going to let him get away with it. We see you, Carney, and we're not falling for the act. Canada deserves a leader who isn't playing dirty, hiding money, and making deals with criminals. Until next time, keep questioning everything, dig deeper, and remember, just because they say it's for your own good doesn't mean it is. Don't let these slick politicians fool you. Stay blonde, stay real, and never trust a man who's been caught in a silent trust with a criminal. Good night, Canada. Thanks for listening to another episode of Canada's Blonde Moment. Don't forget to tune in next time when I dig even deeper into the world of political scandals, questionable friendships, and what the hell is going on behind closed doors.
That was Canada's Blonde Moment, and I am out.